I've entitled this week's coaching call, The Psychology of Selling. That's rather deliberately because almost everybody involved in recruitment, in fact, almost everybody involved in anything, has this massive aversion reaction to the word selling. I could equally well have called this session The Psychology of Success. It would be at least as accurate, possibly more so. But what we're talking about here is how to become the most successful recruiter you can be. And I'm going to introduce some concepts, but my objective is very simple. I want to take pretty much everything that you think you know about human psychology and motivation and turn them upside down and inside out and give you a sense of what really happens inside your head and what you can do to make it more productive and more focused and more effective for you. What I mean by focused and effective is generating the kind of results, the kind of success, the kind of lifestyle and life and business that you want. That's what I mean by success in this context. Obviously, in terms of life, there's a lot more that goes into it in terms of our romantic lives, our family lives, our spiritual lives, our health, all sorts of other aspects. But here, because we're in the Influence Academy, I'm going to talk about success as a recruiter, success in terms of interacting with other people. So, a couple of concepts that are really important for you to understand where I'm coming from, and also for you to understand how to get the most out of yourself as a learner, somebody who is taking on new tips and tactics and techniques. The first of these is a concept from a psychologist called Jean Piaget, a bit like the watch, Jean Piaget, and he's developed the concept of schema or schema. What they are is building blocks of intelligent behavior that you combine to complete every new and different task. So once you as a person have developed certain things, certain ways of behaving, certain ways of thinking that work, that give you the results you're looking for, you'll tend to stick with those and adapt them to new situations. The challenge is that what's worked for you in different situations in the past may not be the best way of addressing a completely new situation. But our psychology is always looking for easy ways to adapt what we've done previously to what we're doing in the future. So that is why one of the most difficult things in my life is going from working on a Mac to working on a Windows system, because it's the habits, the habituations, the which way you use the scroll button, simple things like that work differently between those two OSs. Silly example, but it does work. It's why you get into a car when you're used to driving a manual, it's an automatic, you're still feeling for the clutch. That's part of using our schema. It's our way of behaving in automated ways because those automated ways have worked in the past. The second concept is from a psychologist called Harry Harlow. Far less exotic name to me as an English person than Jean Piaget, but damn good psychologist nonetheless. Harry Harlow was the first person to codify the process of mental shortcuts, what are known technically as behavioral or cognitive heuristics, as in mental or physical shortcuts. So what we as human beings do is we create habits based on what we've done in the past. So as a silly example, as you're watching this, just try crossing your arms for a second. Be careful of the microphone. Cross your arms and just have a look down and notice which arm is on top. There's only two choices. It's your right or your left. Okay. Now, notice which arm's on top. You probably never noticed it before. And now cross them over so the other one is on top. And if you've been able to do it, and a vast number of people can't, or they turn into like kind of John Travolta and they're going, night fever. Okay? But that wrong arm probably feels really quite weird. Well, that's because that's the evil arm. It's the wrong arm. It's bad. It's sick and wrong. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter whether you're right-handed or left-handed. it's got no relationship to anything that I've ever been able to discover. But you have developed a shortcut for it. One way feels natural, the other doesn't. That thing I'm doing, by the way, that took me months to learn how to do without any kind of discomfort, to do it at speed. It's a silly little thing, but the things we do for love. So if you can develop a habit for which arm goes on top, or which arm goes into your jacket first, or which, if you put your hands together, just do that, put your thumbs together. There's three options. Your thumbs have either gone side by side, side to side, like so, or your right thumb's on top or your left thumb's on top. We'll swap them over so the wrong thumb is on top. And I bet that feels really weird, possibly even distasteful. Now, there's no evolutionary value to which thumb you put on top. I used to tell this story about what it meant in your personality and your success in life or your ability as a lover. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's just a habit. And the way habits form is that we do something 2 or 3 times minimum, possibly more. And if it's an important thing and we get positive feedback, we'll keep doing it. If we get negative feedback, we'll stop. If it's an unimportant thing, like which thumb goes on top or which arm goes on top, if we don't get any negative reaction from it or negative result from it, we'll just keep doing it because the stakes are so low. But the more embedded that pattern, the more embedded that shortcut becomes, the more fixed it becomes and the harder it becomes to unlearn it. If you want to unlearn the thumb thing, by the way, you just do that and you just keep doing it and you keep doing it and you keep doing it. And then at some point, you'll forget which thumb was supposed to be evil and wrong, and they'll just be thumbs. It has no major value in your life, but interesting. Just start noticing all the things that you've automated. The number of things, what sequence, when you're getting into the car, what sequence do you do things in? Well, open the door, sit down, and then is it seatbelt first? Is it key in the ignition first? Do you check you're in neutral first? Is it clutch? What's the sequence? You probably don't know, but you're probably quite a competent driver without being consciously aware of what you're doing. Now, there's 2 aspects to Harry Harlow's discovery. By the way, if you've ever watched anything by Tony Robbins, Tony presents this as this pattern of behavior as some massive new idea of his. It's really not. It's very long-standing. Tony didn't invent it, but he's turned it into something that people can use very quickly to create change. And here's how. You've developed patterns of behavior for the most incredibly insignificant things. What's the chance that you've developed patterns of behavior or fixed ways of thinking for things that are important? Like, how conscious are you? As an example, let's say you're calling a client or speaking to a client or a candidate for the first time. How often do you get drawn into the, "Oh, how are you doing?" Which is an incredibly ineffective way to start a call, but it's by far the most common. So we all have these habits of behavior. We develop patterns and shortcuts for one simple reason. They allow us to learn quickly and they allow us to then forget about it. So we can take new experiences, new situations, new skills in very quickly. By identifying the patterns, we can codify them, internalize them, and then forget about them and just automate it. So that process of automation and pattern recognition allows us to learn how to learn. So it can be a massive positive to learn to develop patterns quickly, to identify what you intend to do, practice it, reinforcement, practice it, positive reinforcement, practice it, pat yourself on the back, practice it, reward yourself for it. That will become a habit very quickly. Also become aware of what we're not consciously aware of yet. What do you say? What questions do you ask without thinking? How do you express your ideas without being aware of it? Those sorts of elements allow you to do 2 things: create new habits and new shortcuts very quickly, very efficiently, And once you've identified the old behaviors that don't serve you anymore, you can get rid of them. Now, here's the thing that I need you to understand. You cannot stop doing something. Hey, what? I mean, you can't stop doing something. Just the way people work. People don't stop doing something, they do something else instead. So, I don't drink wine on a conference call, I drink coffee. I don't do this, I do that instead. We're often not conscious of those choices, but when it comes to behavior, if you try and stop doing something, you will find it the devil's own problem to do it. It's horrific. It's one of the reasons why it's in many cases easier to stop hard drugs than it is to stop something like smoking. Because what do you replace smoking with? So it's a question of, if you've got a negative behavior or if you've got a pattern or a habit that you're trying to break, replace it with something else instead. Reward yourself for the new behavior, give yourself a hard time for the old one. Positively reinforce the new, negatively reinforce the old, and after a very short period, your brain will go, oh, okay, I get it, I got it, fine. Now, those two concepts of schema, the building blocks of intelligent behavior, and patterns and shortcuts, mental cognitive patterns and shortcuts, put those two together, and you have the building blocks for why very intelligent people do stupid stuff, and also how me, very intelligent, charming people are able to take on new skills and new behaviors and take them in really quickly and be effective at them really quickly. So those two things put together are how we take on new skills, new behaviors, and make them work. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is a massive topic, okay? Self-belief, self-image. Okay? The reason I want to talk about this is there's an old expression, which is that you can never out-earn or out-learn your self-image. If you believe that you are fill in the blank, if you believe that you are stupid, if you believe you're too young, if you believe you're too old, if you believe you're too English, too American, too white, too black, too whatever, too male, too female, if you believe that you are too something else, to learn, to earn, you can't learn, you can't earn. If you believe that if you earned a £250,000, that would be life changing and that would be the most amazing thing you could possibly do, and that when you hit £250,000, you would be set. If you believe that, and your self-image that is that I'm somebody who can achieve that, that's awesome, because achieving 250 grand, that puts you way into the 1% in pretty much whichever country you're in. You do the exchange rates. But 250 grand, 100 grand, 50 grand, pick your number. Pick your number. If you believe that you are worth £100,000, you will never earn 101,000. If you believe that you can bill 250,000 this year, you will not bill 260. You can't out-earn or out-learn your own self-image and your own self-conception. How you conceive of yourself, what the image is that you have of yourself, is the determining factor. You will learn, earn, and behave up to that point and no further. So think very carefully about it. If I ask you to fill in the blanks on this, I am, what comes next? However you describe yourself, that's your self-image, that's your self-conception. Okay? If I ask you to fill in the blanks, when I'm at my best, I can earn number. Whatever number you're putting there, that's the ceiling. That's not a goal. That's not a target. That's your ceiling. That is the point at which you cannot out earn or outlearn your self image and your self conception because it sets the limit. I've got friends, quite a few friends, who earn £250,000 each year. Quite a nice job. Think about it, just short of £5,000 a week. For most people, that's wow. Okay, wow. Okay. But here's the thing: if that would be wow, that would be amazing, and you really focus on that and you really go for that, you may get there. If you're driven enough and you learn enough and you focus enough and you really go for it, you'll get to it. Frankly, 250 grand is not that difficult, certainly not in recruitment, because most of us live in an uncapped world. So we can keep earning until we hit the necessary milestone. But if your self image is that, God, when I hit 250, that would be that's as much as I can ever imagine achieving. Well, that's good because you ain't going any further. Now, I'm saying 250,000 just because for most people that's a stretch goal. But I could change the number. I could take it down to 50,000. I could take it to 100,000. Whatever level you set for yourself is the ceiling to what you can earn. Whatever rules, for want of a better term, you set for your own ability, that's the ceiling to how much you can learn. And that is something that you really, really want to take in here and do it consciously, which I'm going to lead into the next subject. But consciously asking yourself, what do I believe I'm worth? Now, you can interpret that question in any number of ways. What kind of relationship am I worth? What kind of relationship do I deserve? What kind of level of health do I deserve? I'm picking the word deserve deliberately. Yeah? Not do I want, what do I deserve? Because that takes you back into your self image and your self conception. It's not a goal, it's not the same as a target. Yeah? Because here's the thing, the reason that a lot of people get stressed out or start out poorly and get worse is because they agree to a target or they set themselves a target that's higher than their self-image. So if you set yourself a target, if your self-image says, look, I'm worth 100 grand a year, I'm really, really good, I'm worth £100,000 a year. Now in the UK, at £100,000 a year, you're just below being in the 1%, which will make some people go, really? And other people go, oh no, that's awful. I don't want to be the 1%. No, that's bad. Whatever your reaction is, doesn't matter. But it tells you a lot about your self-image because there's other people that go, okay, so if 100,000 is nearly the 1%, what's absolutely smack in the middle of the 1%? Because I want to go there because I deserve it. That's me. I am a high achiever. I am somebody who can fill in the blanks. When you say I deserve, when you say I am, when you say I am somebody who can, whatever it may be, that's your self-image coming out. And your self-image, whatever it's based on, there's all sorts of theories around that aspect. But you need to be very aware that your self-image, your self-construct, your self-concept can change. What you think of yourself now, I really hope, is different to how you thought of yourself when you were 14. Yeah, I know from my coaching experience, I know huge numbers of people whose self-concept at the age of 40 is exactly the same as their self-concept when they were 20. They see themselves as exactly the same person. Their self-image is that 20-year-old person or that 25-year-old, that 30-year-old, or whatever it might be. And they still see themselves that way. And if that drives you to be as healthy as a 20-year-old, fantastic, God bless. But if it takes you to earn and behave and achieve like a 20-year-old, that's a problem, my friend. Because if you're a 60-year-old who still sees themselves as a young, thrusting, trying to be a something like you're 25 years old, you've got a problem because your self-image hasn't moved with your reality. I'm not suggesting for a second, by the way, that you should accept limitations. What I am saying is that you are capable of more than you are allowing yourself to achieve. If you shift the person that you describe yourself as, it's as simple as that. If you just change the way you describe yourself, and then you do the next couple of things I'm going to give you, you can change your self-image. You can change your self-construct, your self-conception dramatically in just a couple of months. So here's how self-image really, really works. If you want to change your self-image, this is how you do it. We believe in our ability. We believe in our capacity based on our experience, based on our ability to be competent. So if you want to see yourself as somebody who can learn, if you want to see yourself as somebody who can win new business, bring in new clients, be successful, well, that might be a step up. That might be going from here to there. But look at that gap. Okay. How do you bridge that gap? You bridge that gap not by bringing what you want to achieve down, but by bringing you up. And the way you do that is really simple. Progress. If you try new things, hence Jean Piaget and Harry Harlow at the start, if you try new things and you either measure what can be measured, so if you're trying to get fit, which I'm working on at the moment, if you're trying to, I'm trying to get back to being fit, if you're trying to get fit and you measure the weights you're lifting or the distance or the time you're running or swimming or whatever it may be, if you go to the gym and you can do one more rep, if you go to the gym and you can do one more kilo, if you can run 30 seconds longer, if you can run 100 meters further or one lamppost further, that's progress. And if you measure what can be measured and you watch and observe and record your progress, that will gradually start to change your image of what's possible. And secondly, because not everything can be measured, most things can, because I'm a nerdy geek, most things can be measured if you put enough effort into it. But another way of doing it is to give yourself feedback. Give yourself feedback for trying. Yeah. Let's say that you're trying to get fit. Okay. You go to the gym. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how conscientious you are. You go to the gym. You're going to hit some kind of plateau at some point. You're going to get that point on the bench press where you cannot get another rep out. You cannot get another kilo on the bench press. And you're stuck there for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month. That's the worst I've ever seen. But that's fine, because the feedback you give yourself is, okay, the muscle isn't growing, the lift isn't increasing, but I've gone 4 times this week. I've made the effort. I've worked on my bench press twice this week. Don't work on any weight exercise more than a couple of times a week. But anyway, I digress. I put in the effort. Well done, me. I kept at it. Progress is going to happen because I'm putting in the work. Progress is going to happen because I'm doing it. In a marketing or a sales context, you may or may not get through to all the decision makers you want to. But if you put in enough dials, if you put in enough calls, if you send out enough emails, if you send out enough DMs, if you do the work, you will get the results. May or may not get them as quickly as you hope for, but you will start to get the results. And as you start to get the results and you pat yourself on the back and reward yourself for making the improvements, you'll start to gradually change your own perception, your own conception of what you can achieve. Because the person who could earn £100,000 did this, but I'm doing that. So I must be capable of, I'm sure you see where I'm going with this. Yeah. Oh, but Stephen, that's just the way I am. It's just, that's not who I am. I don't want to make a lot of money. I want to have a nice life. I want to have a good family. Fine. I'm not here to dictate your goals or your life or your dreams or your lifestyle or anything like that. My job is to facilitate you and help you to get whatever it is that you want. That's what we're all here for. But don't ever let yourself be held back just because of who you used to be. There's a wonderful concept from a guy called Dr. Richard Bandler, one of the co-inventors of NLP, again picked up by Tony Robbins, bless him, which is this idea that it's never too late to have a happy childhood. Um, who you used to be doesn't have to be who you are today. And it certainly doesn't have to be who you are tomorrow. So take a decision. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Who is the Stephen that I want to be? Who is the Jerome? Who is the Mel? Who is the Wendy? Who is the Asha that you want to be? And then start to consciously make progress towards becoming that person. And as you do that, your image will change, your self-image will change to keep up. Because one of our fundamental drives is to feel consistent within ourselves. So if we are consistently behaving at this level, our self-image will try desperately to keep up. If I'm constantly behaving at this level, my self-image will go up. If I constantly behave at this level, my self-image will drop down accordingly. That's the reality of a lot of people's lives. Now, I want to make two last points. The first is that there's a pushback I get a lot on this kind of topic, is that, oh, that's just who I am. Yeah? Well, there is something that in psychology is called the Big Five. I swear to God, that's actually what it's called. It sounds like something out of an Agatha Christie novel to me, the Big Five. But they're the Big Five psychological traits. They are openness, conscientiousness, agreeableness, extroversion, that's being an extrovert, and emotional stability. Now, they are normally described as psychological traits. But I believe, and my practice has pretty much proven this to be the case, that they are not just personality traits. They're not just kind of, oh, that's who I am. They're actually behaviors. So openness to new ideas, to new experiences. You might be somebody, quote unquote, naturally, sorry, air quotes, I apologize, but you might be somebody who naturally goes on holiday and you're an American who seeks out McDonald's everywhere you go, or you're a Brit who automatically looks for fish and chips. I don't know why I've gone to food at this point, but you might be comfortable in your own environment. If you force yourself, if you make a conscious decision and you go, okay, I'm going to go where the Spanish hang out, I'm going to go where the Italians go, I'm going to put myself out there, and it'll feel uncomfortable, but you never know. You never know what might happen. You never know what you might learn. You can behave in an open way. It might not be who you are, air quotes again, it might not be who you are until you've done it often enough. And at a certain point, it is. Conscientiousness. When I was a kid, I was not at all conscientious. I crammed the exams, did the essays at the last possible minute, if at all. My room looked like a bomb site. That was partly environmental, just because there was no space. But anyway, I didn't have a room till I was 15. For a large part of my childhood, I was sleeping on the couch or on the floor. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. I taught myself to be conscientious. It was a conscious choice, ironically, to teach myself what conscientiousness looked like. What does a conscientious person do? Great, I'll do that. If I were conscientious about this task, how would I do it? Great, I'll do that. I taught myself to consciously be conscientious. Try saying that when you've not had enough coffee. Excuse me. Um, so again, conscientiousness can be a behavior. It's not just a matter of who you are. Okay? You can learn to be. I've applied conscientiousness to remembering holidays, to remembering birthdays, to remember anniversaries, because I've taught myself to be conscientious about it. Also, I taught myself to be systemized and conscientious about being systemized. Whole other thing. Agreeableness. Those of you who know me personally, there's a few of you on the call, I would not make any claims about being particularly agreeable. In fact, in most circumstances, I'm downright disagreeable. I'm not tie that together with extroversion. I'm not an extrovert. I'm really not. Put me in a room with a good book and a decent bottle of wine or a good coffee. I'm perfectly happy for the next 5 days. I'm perfectly happy to not speak to anybody, not see anybody, not interact with anybody. And anybody who does try and interrupt my reading, I'll probably be a bit grumpy with them. That's just me. But here I am. Here I am being affable and hopefully friendly. And if I go to a networking event or if we meet in person, I'll be as agreeable as I've learned to be. I'll tell jokes, I'll exchange anecdotes, I'll smile at your jokes and your anecdotes, I'll be friendly and I'll be open. And then I'll go home, I'll sit in a dark room with a light and read a book. I've learned to behave in an extrovert manner. If I go to a networking event, I will work the room as well as anybody because I've learned it as a behavioral skill. If I'm having a chat with somebody, I will be as agreeable as the next person could possibly hope for because I've learned that as a behavioral skill. The last element is emotional stability. Now, if you haven't yet seen week 17, episode 17 in the weekly webinar Wonderland, go watch that episode. It's the 3 pillars of mindset. And it's all about consciously taking decisions. So when crappy stuff happens, you choose how you're going to respond to it. If I want to be slightly grandiose about it, I've given you a shortcut to Stoic behavior and Stoic philosophy. That is being really grandiose about it, I'll be honest. But those 3 pillars that I talk about in episode 17, that's how you demonstrate. It's how you learn emotional stability. If you get something amazing that happens and you use it to springboard, you go, okay, that's happened. What's next? That's emotional stability because you don't get massively excited. If something bad happens to you, you go, okay, what's the best way of dealing with it? And you move forward. You don't have these huge peaks and troughs because you consciously override and you give yourself that level of emotional stability. So you can learn how to act like somebody with a different set of basic psychological traits. It doesn't change who you are. Who you are is who you are to a degree. Your life experience will change it. Your situation will change it. But, who you are changes slowly over time. But how you behave, you can consciously change that now. And now, and now. It's that simple and that fast. Now, that ties into the last topic I'm going to talk about, which is 2 kinds of mindset. Because none of this works, none of this is even relevant to you if you allow yourself to have what's called a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is, that's just the way stuff is. That's just the way I am. That's just the way life is. I can feel myself going into a song there. Some things will never change. It is what it is. Okay? I have a close friend who one of their basic core beliefs is that the past equals the future. What's happened up to this point means that nothing's ever going to change. It just is what it is. Yeah, and they're actually quite happy. Limited, charming, friendly, good friend of mine, but limited. Their self image was fixed years ago, and everything that happens is related back to that earlier version of them that had a very different life in a very different place in a very different situation. So if you've got a fixed mindset, you can't apply any of what I've just spent the last 40 minutes talking about. You can't do it. Cannot be done. If you have a growth mindset, or rather, if you act as though you have a growth mindset, because it's all about conscious behavioral choices. If you act like you have a growth mindset, which means that you can improve yourself, you can improve your skills, you can improve your situation, you can improve your earning power, you can improve your business, you can improve your relationships, you can improve your health, you can improve your fitness, you can improve any aspect of your life and your situation. If you have a growth mindset, you can improve it and you can change it through your choices. And if you expand your growth mindset even wider, you can help other people change their situation by helping them and showing them and teaching them and bringing them up with you. The expression is a rising tide lifts all boats. So if you have that, if you choose now to have a growth mindset, if you choose now to make a choice about who do you want to be, and then if you make a choice right now, because maybe now would be a good time, if you make a choice right now that you are going to start giving yourself feedback, you're going to catch yourself doing good stuff, and you're going to recognize it, and you're going to give yourself a pat on the back. You're going to give yourself an attaboy, attagirl for doing stuff. You're going to measure what can be measured, and you're going to get better at stuff. And as you get better at stuff, something will kick in, which is what's called self-efficacy. The more competent you become, the more you believe that you can be competent. The more competent you become at this level, the more confident you are that you can rise to the next level. And once you've risen to the next level, the more confident you become that you can rise to the next level. And that is how you consciously work towards your new self-image. But it starts with the self-image. It starts with the vision. It starts with you deciding, this is who I am. Notice what I said. I didn't say this is who I'm going to be. I said, this is who I am. Because you can't out-earn or out-learn your existing self-image. So if you say, I'm going to be this person in the future, your self-image is going to go, oh, bollocks, you are. No, you're not. I am the bucket full of crabs that will drag you back down every single time until you're down here where I am, being comfortable. Failing, but comfortable. Yeah. So you can't say I'm going to be. You have to say, I am. I am a. I earn this. I do. I can. I have. And then you make progress towards it. You start to make progress towards actualizing what you've decided that's who you are. Because you cannot out-earn or out-learn or outperform your self-image, your self-concept. Nobody who is going to win a medal in the Olympics of Paris sees themselves as, I'm just a jogger. They don't see themselves as, well, I play a sport. They see themselves as a world beater. They see themselves as a champion. And they have spent years of their life making that happen. They didn't start out going, oh, I'm a decent sprinter. They didn't go, oh, I'm tall and leggy. Maybe I can jump up in the air a bit. They decided to be a world champion sprinter, a world-class high jumper, a world-class rower. And then they put in the practice and the measurement and the feedback to turn that into their reality. But it starts here. So let me leave you with just this one thought. What would you like to say? How would you like to complete the sentence, I am? How would you like to complete the sentence, I earn? How would you like to complete the sentence, I do? How would you like to complete the sentence, I have? Write it down right now. Rewind this if you need to. Write it down right now and then start tonight. Start tomorrow morning. Start within 5 minutes of watching this session. Start to make some changes and go out and make it happen. Last phrase I'm going to give you. What you can achieve is confidence through competence. Confidence through competence. And once you believe deep down to the marrow that you can achieve confidence through competence, you'll go off and start to do it. Make the notes, go off and start. Don't leave this situation without making a change, without making a conscious decision that you're going to cut off the old image of yourself that you used to have and step into the future that you actually deserve. Take that decision right now. Hit pause. Don't go away until you've written it down, until you've made the choice. And let me just ask you one last question. Once you're a person who you earn, you can, you have, you do, why is that going to make your life better? Why is that important to you? What will that mean for you? I am a. What will that mean for you? I can. How will that help? What will the impact be for you? Why is that important? I have. Why is that so great? How will that help you? What will it mean to you when you've got that? I can. What will the impact be when you can do that? Because once you've got that why, once you've got that reason, the how will become the easy part. That's my session. Your work starts now.